Welcome to Hail Varsity Radio, the voice of Husker Nation. Insight, opinion, expertise, with the biggest and best names talking Nebraska across the state. Join the show on Twitter at Hail Varsity and at Schmitz_radio. Call in at 402-466-ESPN or 1-800-825-5865. Here's Chris Schmitz.
Welcome to it. Great to be with you on a Tuesday. It's Hail Varsity Radio, presented by the Nebraska Lottery. Chris Schmidt, Elijah Herbal, and you get the old poncho out or umbrella. A lot of the state getting soaked. We will dive in. Good news on the recruiting front again, portal-wise, with Nebraska football. All about Marcus Washington coming up. A decision that maybe you care about, maybe you don't, when it comes to touchdown celebrations. We will dive into future Ravens Hall of Famer and hopeful with the NFL Hall of Fame, Sam Koch, the pride of Ulysses. Sam will join us in an hour, a Tuesday with Kaz, Rick Kaczenski. His take on Wynn. Kaz in South Carolina, that's where Wynn is from. So some really good background on Wynn and what that does for the D-line room. Mitch Sherman in about 20 minutes. And what an incredible finish to Better Call Saul. We'll dance around it around 5:40 with Better Call Saul aficionado Mike St. James. We've been doing this every Tuesday, kind of the Better Call Saul recap, and it's midway through season 6. So it'll pick back up July 8th. So we'll dive in with Mike St. James. Numbers to get in can join us at 466-3776, 466-3776, 800-825-5865. Find us on Twitter. Give us a follow at Schmidt_radio. Chris Schmidt, that's me. And at Herbal Essence for Elijah Herbal. Give him a follow. Can email Chris at HailVarsity.com. Time winding down to qualify for the ability to beef up your backyard with your friends at Capitol Patio and the Flame Shop. That smoker giveaway looming. And the gift card to Russ's Market Meat for your smoker. We'll give you a chance to qualify this hour and next hour. So listen to be caller 9. We'll tell you when. Elijah, Nebraska just keeps on keeping on in the portal. And do you need it? Do you want it? Is it a luxury item? Is it a necessity? You go back and forth. And Nebraska's offensive side of the ball, preferably an offensive lineman. But what was available, you have Marcus Washington, 4-star wide receiver from Texas, around 280 yards in receptions, 2 touchdowns. His highlights, pretty impressive, with some key catches against Oklahoma, key catches against Baylor, and was very prominent with that shootout against Kansas. Unfortunately for Texas, he didn't play defense. And that was an incredible overtime win for the Fighting Lances down in Jayhawk land. So that was cool. Long and short, though, Nebraska getting another addition, 6'2", 190. Deep threat Marcus Washington. And we've said this kind of all along. You lost a guy in Betts who was an in-state product. That hurt. That was terrible. And it was, you saw great glimpses from Betts when they did throw in the ball, when he did touch the football. Things happened. But you're pretty much trading numbers right now with what Betts put up and with what Washington put up. Different conferences, obviously. I think Betts is probably a little more slippery after the catch. You've seen that, but above all, Marcus Washington fills a void there, and Nebraska has their guy to stretch the field, one of many in that receiver room. You look at Nebraska and what has gone on at wide receiver, right? Think about the receiver room that Mike Riley had, didn't recruit but inherited, and the receiver room that got built up during the Bo era. And it was a bunch of really good guys that played, got sniffs in the NFL, or just. And then you had a little bit of a lull, and then Nebraska's had issues since Frost came in, either what was in the room or what they tried to go supplement. And Nebraska's had to be a bit unconventional. The only high school kid they have in the receiver room right now that's a scholarship guy is Alante Brown. Does that not blow you away? The rest of it's been portal additions or some sort of transfer. But Nebraska will lean heavy on the portal in talent upgrade and hopefully with chemistry to depend on their success for 2022. At quarterback, at special teams, in the secondary, on the defensive line, and yes, at wide receiver. So you have these additions right now. 2 from Bama, 2 from Texas, an offensive lineman from Oklahoma State, a wideout, of course, in Palmer from LSU, Purdy at quarterback, O'Shawn from TCU, Drew from Tech, and then you have Hill from Arizona State, along with Wynn and Williams from Alabama. So Nebraska loading up, part of that 2 deep, and this is okay. This is the way of college football, the world it is, and the way it is now. If you don't get a high school prospect or develop said high school prospect, you can either go portal or JUCO. And what you do have is the ability to go get some guys in film, or I should say on film, that they performed in Power 5 settings. So a little bit better history on them if they're ready to jump ship. And Nebraska, no doubt from a connection standpoint, Mickey Joseph, very proven in development and very proven in motivation when it comes to his receiver room. At other stops, he'll bring that to Nebraska, no doubt. And listen, he'll know how to identify. There's a slew of talented high school wide receivers that he is in no way, shape, or form ignoring. You look at Malachi Coleman. You look at Hall out of Bellevue West. I mean, both those guys are on Nebraska's radar. You look at Nagoy as well out of Lincoln High. I'm sure I'm not purposely leaving out any other wideouts within the state or 500-mile radius, but Mickey would love to get a hold of high school guys. But the here and now is to go get the talent out of the portal and work that way.
And even with this addition, I do think there is a noticeable hole in this wide receiver room, because Marcus Washington, you described him as a deep threat, but he's not the deep threat that we think of whenever we've seen the Scott Frost offense the past couple years. That's the guy who's filled that J.D. Spielman role, that Samori Toure role, the guy who's running posts and fly routes and is really stretching the field. That's not what Marcus Washington was at Texas. He was much more of that intermediate guy, a smaller-bodied version of what Omar Manning did for Nebraska last year, where it was 15, 20-yard routes, crossing routes, and whatnot. That's more what I see from Marcus Washington. I'm still not sure who the guy in the wide receiver room is going to be that's going to stretch the field. Could it be Trey Palmer?
The fastest guy is Palmer.
Could it be him? But it also sounds like they've liked his shiftiness and his willingness to go over the middle. Mm-hmm. So it kind of seems like him and Alante Brown are going to be doing that role. You got Omar Manning and Marcus Washington, the possession guys who are going to be running intermediate-ish routes, intermediate to deep routes. But I don't see that true take-the-top-off guy in the wide receiver room yet. And from what we've seen in Scott Frost's time at Nebraska, his offense has worked better when it's had one of those guys, whether it be Samori Toure or J.D. Spielman. Those are the two best examples. His offense has worked better, and they've had that deep playability when they've had that guy. Could the offense look different next year with Mark Whipple? Sure, but I still just don't see who's the guy in the wide receiver room that has the ability to take the top off a defense.
Well, and just watching some of Washington's film, he would get past the defensive back or the safety and make the gash catch. Mm-hmm. Did he get to the end zone?
That's
no.
what I'm saying, yeah.
Right, the finish, right? So he can get deep, and you can hit him for a 50 or 60-yard play. He had a couple of those with Texas, but was it the home run? Did you cross the finish line and get into the end zone? The hope here is, if you're a Nebraska fan, to, once you get inside the 20, not stall.
Well, I mean,
if you didn't score on a big play, there was a good chance you were kicking a field goal or missing a field goal, and you weren't getting in the end zone. You'd have your big play, your big gainer on a drive of 25 or 30 or 40. You had a lot of those, and you have had a lot of those. But to your point, you haven't really hit Pater without the Spielmans or the Stanley Morgans, right?
Yeah,
I mean, those were the two guys that not only made the big play, but got to the end zone.
Yeah, and people have made this out to be the like-for-like replacement for Xavier Betts, and Xavier was a unique athlete. He was a unique athlete with the combination of size and speed, and we talk about going and finishing those plays. Think back to Northwestern, that fly sweep he took around the end for a touchdown, or think back to Oklahoma. Whenever Nebraska needed a touchdown, what does he do? He goes 75 yards. That's not what I've seen from Marcus Washington. Could I be wrong? Sure, I could be wrong here, but what I've seen from how Texas utilized him, that's not what his utilization is going to be here at Nebraska.
Another body, nice option, and has plenty of film that you're like, okay, the guy played and caught quite a few balls at Texas, and that place has been known to get pretty high-level players in. Now Nebraska on the back end gets the portal visit. Okay, let's crank up the old German jukebox, the Elijah Herbal special here. Balloon. Physically have taken Junior to. Usually I'm air quote working. So he goes with Joe Mama or Papa Al or some buddies, right? So he's seen his share of Nebraska games, quite different setup than what my brother and I had growing up and going. Anywho, but when he was little, the kid whiffed it. He fumbled. He let the balloons go outside the stadium even before he got in. So that was his one and done shot at letting the balloons go. It's a cool scene. Nebraska will adapt and adjust. Maybe it's just going to be a lucky Husker fan that releases a red balloon on the video board once there's a touchdown. And it's not quite Devaney or PBA where you're standing and waiting traditionally for that first basket to be scored. But as the offense has struggled, you've been holding on to the balloons for a while. Here is Trev last night on the no?
No, the one you sent me was about the 3-game ticket package, not about the balloons.
Well.
I went and efforted trying to find it, but.
Okay. So we don't have audio of Trev. That makes me sad. But long and short from Trev Alberts is, listen, it's just not feasible to do it. Now, if it's really a sore spot for you, a Nebraska fan, you can probably find some and buy some. There are different gases out there that are lighter or as light as helium. You can't just blow up your own balloon with the old lung power and have it float away. You need either hydrogen or methane, and God love you if you go the methane route.
Yeah, that's screaming Hindenburg to me.
I know, right? I know there's no smoking, but there could be an issue.
See, and this is where I say, in the meantime, I'd like to see some sort of balloon tradition come back, whether it's just the first game. Just the first game, there's a balloon release for the first touchdown of the season or first points of the season, or there's some balloons included up behind the scoreboard that go off for the first score. I'd like to see something like that come back someday, but in the meantime, I say we go European soccer and we bring flares into the stadium. Red flares.
Oh, no.
Don't do that. Don't do that.
No,
if you're listening at home, don't do that.
No.
That's going to get you kicked out of the stadium
No
and potentially
flares,
arrested.
no
fireworks.
There's fireworks at the North Stadium. Just score a lot of points often, and people will be happy. I will say this. The last time there was a helium shortage was 2012. good things happened on the football field in 2012. You went to the Big Ten championship game. Maybe there's a bit of superstition mixed in here. But Nebraska suspending its tradition of releasing red balloons at the first touchdown of home games due to the global helium shortage.
And people have been angry, but my legitimate take here is after a season of it, it'll be sad the first couple games you don't see those balloons fly away, but after a season of it, you'll realize it's a lot better than sitting there and holding the balloons for a full quarter. That would get old. Yeah,
we need to find a way to get Little Red to float away after the first touchdown.
Ooh, yeah.
That thing I'm not fond of.
He's just there for pregame, and by the first score, they hook him up to a big weather balloon, and off goes Little Red.
Off goes Little Red, never to return again.
Well, you have to worry about a bird finding Little Red and eating him after the game, clogging up the throat.
I will fatten up said bird, and maybe we can make that happen. We'll dive in. Really good local talent. Good story from Mitch Sherman on The Athletic. Some local prospects doing the quarterback thing and getting some national attention. We'll get Mitch's thoughts on Wynn and Washington, the addition via portal. And if Mitch wants to pop some balloons, we can do that as well. Great to be with you on a Tuesday. It's Hail Varsity. We're presented by the Nebraska Lottery. Like what you hear, high-quality radio and podcast, just part of what we do at Hail Varsity. Hey, it's Chris Schmidt with Hail Varsity Radio, and I wanted to offer listeners of the Hail Varsity Radio Show podcast $10 off the price of an annual subscription. That means that you, for less than $20, can get everything we produce. 10 issues of our monthly magazine, our annual football yearbook, and all the premium content we produce at HailVarsity.com. Just go to HailVarsity.com/subscribe and enter in the promo code GBR for $10 off a full year of Hail Varsity. That's HailVarsity.com/subscribe, promo code GBR.
And we're back.
Fellas, think we could listen to the radio
on Hail Varsity Radio, presented by the Nebraska Lottery.
Yes, that's awesome.
Thanks for spending time. We'll chat with Sam Koch as day one in the office for him as a special teams consultant for the Ravens. Rick Kaczenski with us. We say hi to Mitch Sherman with The Athletic at Mitch Sherman on Twitter. Mitch, how's your day? Are you coping all right without balloons next season?
Yeah, I don't care about the balloons. I'm sure you'll find people on every side of that one.
Are you annoyed by the balloon discussion?
I'm annoyed by the balloons, period. So the last time one of the balloons came onto my radar was a couple of seasons ago. I believe it was the 2020 season when the stadium was empty, which doesn't make any sense at all because why were there balloons? But, there were still like 200, like the parents were there at the stadium. It might have been the year before, now that I think about it. Doesn't matter. And one of the balloons got stuck in the metal or in the front of the press box right in front of my window, my seat. No. And it was just kind of hanging there, and the cord was tied around part of the stadium, and I couldn't see. Eventually it kind of deflated. I believe it stayed there all year, but so last night, Chris, if you allow me a second here,
yes.
to go off on a tangent. Last night I was coaching, we had baseball practice, and generally when Trev Alberts or Scott Frost is going to be on the radio and I'm indisposed in that way, I'll take a few things into consideration. Should I skip the practice to listen to the radio show? Should I maybe wear some earbuds and listen to the radio show, which I've never done during a game or practice? Should I can put a little notification on a few of the many media tweeters who are going to be monitoring this? I can periodically check Twitter to see what's going on, or I can just ignore it all until I get home and then see what became of the radio show. And that's what I chose to do last night. And so I got home, pulled it up, saw that the balloons had been axed, and I'm not sad that I missed it. I don't really care.
Well, Mitch, you don't have any fond memories of watching like a primetime game at Memorial Stadium, the balloons release, and oh no, they get caught in the spider cam, and you have to watch those poor grips down there, like struggling for a whole commercial break, rushing, trying to get the balloons out of the spider cam. That was always my favorite memory of the balloons.
You know what was great about the balloons, or what I enjoyed about the balloons? When they almost always went up into the air after Nebraska's first possession of the game. Like when I was a kid, for years and years and years, it was like 80 yards, 76 of it on the ground. The fullback in from 2 yards with 12:09 left on the clock in the first quarter, and there go 40,000 balloons. Now it's just kind of depressing when people are still holding onto their balloons, halfway through the second quarter, or they get let go from a field goal. It's with the sinking of many of the great Nebraska traditions. I'm totally fine with this one going away too.
Man, you had to endure a whole season with this red balloon taunting you, obscuring your view.
It was. Well, I mean, it obviously lost its air after the first.
Somebody probably filled it back up just to mess with you.
That would have been a good prank. Didn't happen.
Mitch Sherman with us, anti-balloon. Did you pop any children's balloons once upon a time outside the stadium?
I haven't. I mean, I like to go to birthday parties and do that and just pop kids' balloons. That's the kind of person I am, I guess, after all of this.
Oh, I love it, Mitch. Let's shift gears from Balloon Gate to the portal, my friend, and a thought on Marcus Washington, his addition, and how he'll be used or could be used by the Nebraska offense.
Yeah, well, much like a lot of the other transfers that we've seen from these Power 5 schools, he's not coming here to sit.
Right.
So there's got to be a way to get him touches, and the same can be said for Trey Palmer at that position. On the defensive side, they're not looking for touches, but they're looking for reps. When you look at Travis Fisher's room in the secondary, there's a lot of competition, and I look at those two positions in specifically in the way that they've upgraded for Mickey Joseph and Travis Fisher, the receivers and the DBs. And Nebraska has made some big changes, obviously, at those spots this offseason through the portal and with the DBs, both of them, with recruiting. So come July 27th or 28th, whenever that first day of practice is, it's going to be a different look. Even from the spring, it's going to be a different look. And this is one of those big additions that changes the look of the wide receiver group. So if you're Omar Manning or Oliver Martin or Trey Palmer, you've got more competition now. And, there are some players who were hurt in the spring who are going to be coming back. There are some freshmen coming in who are going to add competition to that room. It's a new world, I would say, in comparison to what we've seen the past 4 seasons, with the competitive nature of the wide receiver room, the DB room. You could maybe look at the running backs in that same way, although I think we still need to learn more about some of those guys. We'll see how it plays out. We'll see how this all impacts the locker room. They have to have a strong foundation in order, I would say, to thrive in this kind of a situation where there are so many new faces who are coming in with no intention of waiting their turn.
Mitch Sherman's with us from The Athletic, Hail Varsity Radio, at Mitch Sherman on Twitter. Mitch, what have you gathered from Wynn in limited snaps at Bama? That process obviously works well for Saban, and they just keep recruiting dudes that are in that room, and that's how you win football games at that level on the lines of scrimmage. Wynn seems to be another nice get.
Alabama, unlike Nebraska, has no problem attracting the top defensive line prospects in the country out of high school. So they're recruiting over the top of the kids that they sign or that they get commitments from in the same class as those guys. So while Stephon Wynn was committed to Bama out of IMG Academy as a top 100 player in the country, Nick Saban and his coaching staff were out looking for the next guy the guy to beat him out in that same class and in the class after him. So it's a different level. We talked about competition with the receivers and defensive backs in Nebraska. It's a different level of competition when you get to be a defensive lineman at Alabama. And, in asking some of our network of college football writers at The Athletic about him and Kane Williams at Bama, although Williams was just at Bama for a year, so it's more difficult to get a read on exactly what the situation was there. He was just down on the depth chart and probably saw what was ahead of him and didn't want to wait. With Wynn, he did wait, and he was in Tuscaloosa for 4 seasons. And good guy, a good team player from what I understand. But there were others at that position group who were seen as having higher ceilings. All of those guys who go to Bama intend to play in the NFL. And, no different with Wynn, but others came before him and after him who outcompeted him and were more NFL ready, guys who earned the reps ahead of him. That's not necessarily going to be the case, most likely not going to be the case at Nebraska. And just because he didn't have a high enough ceiling to make it into the starting lineup at Alabama, that by no means is an indicator that he won't be ready to be an impact player in the Big Ten. So we'll see. I think, it's an important addition for sure, just because of the experience and the size at a position where Nebraska needs help.
Mitch, really enjoyed your story on the Omaha Metro talent and the pipeline of quarterbacks. Mitch, just share a little bit here with our listeners what you worked on with the quarterbacks in the metro region with just a lot of talent. Many schools are getting glimpses of.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I went Sunday out to Westside Middle School in Omaha to watch Cole Payton, the North Dakota State quarterback. We remember him from the state championship game in 2020 at Memorial Stadium for Omaha Westside, beating Elkhorn South. He was the Gatorade Player of the Year, and got some late interest from Nebraska, but had long been committed to North Dakota State, and then won an FCS championship, which is par for the course in Fargo in his first season last year. He'll be in competition to be the quarterback for the Bison, but they do have a returning starter who's in the same class as him. So competition it doesn't take a rest just because you're in the FCS. But Cole was back home in Omaha this weekend and had a camp for young quarterbacks, for middle school quarterbacks, and for high school quarterbacks. And Zane Flores, the Gretna quarterback, was out there. He's committed to Oklahoma State. Daniel Kalin is the 2024 quarterback from Bellevue West, who has yet to be a full-time starter in that program, but has offers from all over the country, including Minnesota and Michigan State. In the Big Ten, Vanderbilt is after him. Duke is after him. Kalin is going with his teammate Davon Hall, the receiver from Bellevue West, who's a big-time target of Nebraska, Iowa, and others. They are going to Florida, Georgia, and Clemson next week to do a camp circuit. So this is a different deal for Omaha area and Nebraska-bred quarterbacks to be getting the kind of attention that we're seeing with Kalin, that we saw with Flores, that you saw a little bit with Cole Payton, although he ended up at an FCS school. Of course, Nebraska has Heinrich Harburg. You have Max Dugan from Council Bluffs, who's been at TCU, and there are some younger guys who were out at this event also, who are going to be up and coming and really changing what Nebraska high school quarterbacks are known to have done. In the past, generally, they've, you've seen your guys run the option or change positions and had a lot of good athletes at that spot. Now you have a lot of really good passers who are starting to come out of this region.
It's good stuff, and speaks to the talent and development. Really cool story. Be sure to check that out on The Athletic. Mitch, we'll get caught up again. Good to spend some time with you. Thanks for a few minutes today.
All right. Thanks, Chris.
Take care. There he is, Mitch Sherman. Find him on Twitter at Mitch Sherman with The Athletic. We'll hear from, some of the Ravens next.
Hello, listener. This is Brandon Vogel, managing editor of Hail Varsity, and I wanted to let you know about a special deal just for listeners of the Hail Varsity Radio Show podcast. We're offering $10 off the annual subscription price of $29.99. That means that you, for less than $20, can get everything we produce, 10 issues of our monthly magazine, our annual football yearbook, and all of the premium content we produce at hailvarsity.com. Just go to hailvarsity.com/subscribe and enter the promo code GBR for $10 off a full year of Hail Varsity. That's hailvarsity.com/subscribe, promo code GBR.
Chime in 402-466-ESPN or email the show, Chris@hailvarsity.com.
Just try me.
Back to Hail Varsity Radio.
Good stuff from Mitch Sherman. That's posted on demand, ESPNLincoln.com. Also, ESPN Lincoln Twitter, the full interview with Mitch Sherman. Podcast, always subscribe and find us. Give us a rating. Hail Varsity Radio, Spotify, iTunes, Google Play. So be sure to check that out. Some words of wisdom from former Ravens coach Brian Billick. This is part of a little snippet from the 30 for 30 that's going to be released on the Ravens in a moment. Sam Koch, 20 minutes away. All-world punter and standout from Nebraska, wrapped up his career with the Ravens. And day one for Sam with the Ravens as a consultant. Rick Kaczenski, more on the win edition for Nebraska. And then Mike St. James, Better Call Saul recap. Midway point of Season 6 aired last night. Before we hear from Coach Billick, a thought here on Bet Online, and the odds are out to win the Big Ten. So Ohio State, no shock, minus 210. Your favorite, Wisconsin, plus 1,000. Michigan, plus 1,100. And Nebraska, plus 1,400. So not bad there. They're tied with Penn State. So it looks like your runners-up right now, if you look at the West right now as it sits, Nebraska just right behind Wisconsin. Iowa comes in at plus 2,000. Purdue plus 2,500. Minnesota at plus 2,800. Illinois plus 10,000. And Northwestern plus 15,000. So there you go. There's the rundown. Your wheels are turning, Elijah. Are you going to run to Council Bluffs? Are you headed past the river to do a futures?
Well, I'm sitting here thinking Nebraska's plus 1,400. That's the number?
Yep.
So that would be the same odds that Nikola Jokic had to win NBA MVP back in October, and look what happened there.
And you have the balloon issue where there's no balloons this year. 2012, the last time Nebraska won a West Division, or whatever it was called then. Point is they went to the Big Ten title game.
The stars are aligning.
They are aligning. I mean, you have 15 dudes from the portal make your way, and you've got 2 projected starters. Well, maybe. You have two deep guys from Texas. You have two guys from TC. I mean, hey, it's working out.
There it is. There's your daily glass of Kool-Aid.
I feel better about the money I dropped going to Ireland.
Okay.
Sort of, kind of. So, Brian Billick hates Tennessee. You want proof? Here we go.
Respect a good opponent, okay? Make sure you do that, okay? Now, I want every camera turned off. Every one of them turned off. Turned off! Okay? Right now. Here we go. The Titans.
The E! True Hollywood story. What was hilarious about that video that was posted on Twitter was Art Modell freaking out. Oh, you said it. I mean, Billick didn't care who was in the locker room. It's his locker room. It's his playground. It's his sandbox. And Art Modell was like, oh, my God. He said, well, he kind of lost it there. But, yeah, Billick drafting Sam Koch, of course. Interesting that Billick never got another head job, did TV after the Ravens, but was a longtime OC, I think, of the Vikings, right? He's just one of those guys that I think was difficult to be around. But, hey, he won a Super Bowl. Ray Lewis, defense, loading Nada, part of that first Raven championship team. And interested to see this play out because the Ravens have always had this formula of great defense, incredible special teams, just enough offense. Much like the Titans back then with Steve McNair and Fisher, and they were about 1.5 yards shy of a Super Bowl championship after they just rode Eddie George, 4 billion carries a season for 8 years, and a lot of black and blue football.
It's that Big Ten football.
It's what it was.
I mean that's what's in the cold weather states, that Rust Belt region. Big Ten football works. It
does, and crab cakes and football worked to the tune of 2 titles, 1 championship ring on the finger of Sam Koch. So we'll check in with him.
Yeah, looking forward to that. That'll be good stuff.
No, he'll Sam's awesome. So the other news coming out from Trev Alberts, not just the pick 3 ticket deal that'll start on sale tomorrow, but also the divisions. Now it's not immediate. The Big Ten is not going full Pac-12 on this and scrapping divisions this year, although the door wasn't completely locked and shut on that. But the Big Ten is all about finding a way to the playoff, getting as many playoff participants readily available, have the best case, and you play to win championships in the Big Ten. And that sounded like it's coming down the pike probably for 2023, which I'm okay with. You're just going to have to step up your game if you're Nebraska, and that's been the case. You'll probably have a permanent set of 3. Hopefully it's Minnesota, it's Wisconsin, it's Iowa. You need to start winning 2 out of those 3 every year in the West to be in contention. And then whatever you get crossover-wise, but make an argument for yourself. And Nebraska is aiming to do that with talent acquisition clearly in the portal, year 5 of Frost, and moving forward, make it more than just Michigan and Ohio State the rematch. Make it more than whoever's the sacrificial lamb out of the West to go find their way to Indy. You've been good enough to win some crossovers if you're Iowa. You've been good enough to do okay against Michigan. That's Wisconsin's done pretty well when they've crossed over against Michigan. And Penn State has had a lot of tough road games in the West. They found a way with Saquon in Iowa, but they've also faltered as well. I mean, that one of your big dogs are your co-favorites, the teams that are just right behind Ohio State. Michigan State, it's been forever since they've beat Ohio State. The year they did it, they got to the playoff despite losing to Nebraska. Michigan, obviously the first other team aside from Sparty and Ohio State to be represented in the college football playoff. Time will tell with how soon college football playoff expands. And, the setup and the talking point yesterday was the SEC may just have a tournament themselves, and then they'll meet a la NFC, AFC back in the day, or AFL, NFL. They'll meet the winner of the rest of you. A full eye roll from one Elijah Herbal there. But, your 2 dominant leagues, the Big Ten, the SEC, and everybody else aside from Clemson, right? So not long for this world, divisions in the Big Ten. We'll wind down hour 1. Your chance to qualify on the way to beef up your backyard. It's Hail Varsity, presented by the Nebraska Lottery.
And now, back to Hail Varsity Radio.
One final time this hour, it's Hail Varsity Radio, presented by the Nebraska Lottery. Chris Schmidt, Elijah Herbal. And a chance for you to get buckled up. Remember, coaches make substitutions during the game to get the best player on the field. Getting behind the wheel after drinking also demands a substitution. Sober drivers are the only choice. A DUI costs more than you think. A message from the Nebraska Department of Highway Safety Office. Elijah, the last time you let a balloon go in the stadium, ever? Were you 8?
It was when my family still had season tickets, so that would have been probably age 9 or 10, yeah.
So we're talking 2010?
Yeah, talking 2010.
Okay.
And I'm trying to remember what football game that was, because I remember we had to sit on the
So you're clearly scarred by this
halftime.
decision.
No. I will say, being a UNL student during the time, which I had to
Are you
vote,
annoyed at the student government?
I'm saying I had to vote 4 separate times. Every single year, the student government brought this up in the ballot, and every single year, the results started getting closer and closer with the yes and the no until finally.
So the student government's a fourth quarter team.
Yeah, until
just wore you down.
I was finally outvoted. I always voted keep it around. Why should we be the ones to scrap it? But sure. Yeah, I hate the sea turtles. I hate the birds. I hate them all. And I love traditions. Oh, sue me.
Old Mitch Sherman was fired up. He's pissed. And the origin of that is so funny because I can just see this. Mitch is getting ready to set up in the press box, and as luck would have it, or fate, the balloon is caught in front of Mitch, so it's bobbing side to side right in front of him for an entire game.
And I will say, during my time with Husker Vision, there were some times where we had a balloon that would obscure
Did you have a blow
your camera
dart
shot, but no, you just had to deal with it. Hope it would go away. But I mean, I hope they replace it with some sort of tradition that's in the same vein. I still like the idea of some sort of, maybe it's a large balloon or a number
about
of
a hot air balloon.
Yeah, sure.
How about you pitch in money for a giant hot air balloon that just can rise? Your job is to rise above,
like the Lincoln,
South Stadium, not North Stadium, because that would turn messy with the fireworks.
Like the Lincoln Children's Museum, the hot air balloon they have in there that just rises up to the top and then slowly falls back down.
Sure. Done. But that's a winner.
But yeah, there probably doesn't need to be 20,000 balloons being released from the stadium every single game day. My humble opinion, if I were a decision maker here, is just bring it back for the first game of the season. Every single year, you can have it on the first point scored of the season. Everyone can release their balloons. You can call it good for the year.
There is the answer. We're stamping it, and it's the Elijah plan. Let's get you qualified right now with ESPN Lincoln Hail Varsity. Your chance is winding down to qualify for that Smoky Mountain Cooker Smoker from Capitol Patio and the Flame Shop. Also a gift card to Russ's Market. That will take care of the meat, the ribs, the chops, the steak, whatever you want to put on that smoker. You haven't lived till you've slow smoked a pork chop, bone in, of course. And it has been heavenly to do so. Caller 9 qualifies right now to beef up your backyard, that smoker, the gift card to Russ's Market. Caller 9, get qualified. Time winding down, 466-3776, 466-3776, 800-825-5865. Caller 9 right now. Pardon the interruption, but I'd like to save you some money. Hey, it's Chris Schmidt with Hail Varsity, and I wanted to offer listeners of this podcast $10 off the price of an annual subscription. That means that you, for less than $20, can get everything we produce. 10 issues of our monthly magazine, our annual football yearbook, and all the premium content we produce at HailVarsity.com. Just go to HailVarsity.com/subscribe and enter in the promo code GBR for $10 off a full year of Hail Varsity. That's HailVarsity.com/subscribe, promo code GBR.
Welcome to Hail Varsity Radio, the voice of Husker Nation. Insight, opinion, expertise, with the biggest and best names talking Nebraska across the state. Join the show on Twitter at Hail Varsity and at Schmitz_radio. Call in at 402-466-ESPN or 1-800-825-5865. Here's Chris Schmitz.
Back into it at Hail Varsity Radio, presented by the Nebraska Lottery. We welcome in, he just retired, and we're catching him day one. Sam, do you have an office, bud? Sam Koch is with us. Do you have an office? Do you have an area? Tell us what this new role is.
Well, this new role is a special teams consultant with the Ravens. As far as a new office, I think it's just in the janitor closet right now, so we're working our way up. Just working out with the maintenance guys and doing those things. But no, it's going good. Just kind of, start working out with Jordan Stout and trying to get things going with him and working on fundamentals and techniques of punting and just trying to learn the whole process of what it's like being a coach here at the Baltimore Ravens. So super exciting, super excited to be a part of this organization or continue to be a part of this organization and everything it involves.
Sam Koch with us. Sam, this entire state is always, it's always been proud of you, but super happy for just the way your career has gone. You know how Nebraska fans are with Huskers in the NFL, man, and it was just a pleasure to watch you as we blink for 16 years. Take me back to Thursday and how you dealt with the emotions.
Yeah, it was a very emotional day. It was one of those things kind of from the beginning. Sports was all I knew, and that's the only thing I ever wanted to do growing up. And so there was a lot of emotions from that because I, in essence, kind of took that away from myself. It was something that I felt comfortable with my decision, but just realizing that I no longer get to play that kid's game anymore it was very hard because, like I mentioned, it was the only thing I ever wanted to do growing up. And I had the opportunity to do that at the highest level in football and be a part of such a great teammates, great coaches, great organization was just truly remarkable and emotional and everything that went with it. Had the opportunity to have Coach Downing, Scott Downing, Bill Bush, some of my former coaches here to be a part of that, along with some good friends and family that was here as well. And so excited for the next chapter, excited to see how this all goes.
Sam Koch is with us on Hail Varsity Radio. Sam, the feedback on social media, the NFL circles around Nebraska, it was truly your day, and you're a guy that is a just focused worker, man. You perfected your craft for a number of years. Was it tough for you to accept the adulation, the fanfare?
Well, being in Nebraska, being in Baltimore, our fans are amazing. Mm-hmm. And so, no, it wasn't really tough. Fans are just exceptional. The way they handle everything from that to our game days, and they're so appreciative of everything that these guys give. And I couldn't be happier. Just having the support that I did with the fans and family and everybody that was involved. It's remarkable to see how much I meant to them. And in hindsight, looking at it, as you're going through it, you never think they probably just think take me for granted. But when it's all said and done, there was a lot of love and understanding in what I did.
Sam, let's talk about your career, not only from Nebraska to Baltimore, but just overall from high school to where you just ended this finish line, at least your playing days. Because correct me, out of high school, didn't you play linebacker and wide receiver? You also kicked, yes, but you came into Nebraska as an athlete, correct?
Correct. Yeah. In high school, I actually started off as a guard and then played, throughout my years there, played guard, tackle, center. And then I did some tight end in certain formations along with fullback and up back, and then did linebacker and the punting and kicking duties. And at that time, you basically played the whole game, Mm-hmm. You played both sides of the ball and then special teams. And it was a great time. and that's where I learned the love of football. Had the opportunity to play many positions, many skill positions. And from there, I got asked to walk on to Nebraska as a linebacker, punter / kicker. And the whole point was to come in the first year, see how I like the punting and kicking it. If I'd like to jump into linebacker, I could do that the following during spring ball. But throughout that whole year, just fell in love with punting and kicking and enamored in trying to figure it out and be so consistent. And it just kind of led me to my career 21 years later.
So, Sam, fair to say you brought a linebacker mentality to the NFL as a punter?
I guess you could say that, yeah. I mean, I loved hitting, loved the physical aspect of the game, and being able to hit a few returners early on in my career was very enjoyable.
So, did you let him know, or were you just kind of that quiet assassin?
I was always just very quiet. Just went in, did my job, and went home.
Sam, you look at your teammates' response, and there's so many. Tell Nebraska fans, if they're not familiar, about your special teams crew, about the Wolfpack, Morgan Cox specifically. I was reading a story. It's his first game in the NFL. He's your long snapper, and he's shortened the snaps back to you. So is it true you wound up and threw him a fastball and hit him on the back of the head?
Yeah, it's very true. I'm one of those guys, when you get on that field, I don't know if I'm very proud of it, but
it's
I know
right.
Our relationship grew pretty strong that day. But I'm one of those people, when I hit that field, I become a different person. I'm all about doing what's right to help our team win, doing what's right to help our individual goals, help us achieve those individual goals, doing everything I can to make us better. And then once I get off that field, I'll be your friend, for the rest of the day. But I'm a different animal when I hit that field, and it's always trying to do whatever I can to be the best I can for that day, along with everybody around me.
Well, you brought a professionalism. Sam Koch, couple minutes with us here, Hail Varsity Radio, on the consulting side of things now with the Baltimore Ravens, 16 years with the Ravens, Pro Bowl punter, no doubt going to be in the Ravens Ring of Honor, and I would be surprised if you don't get a look by Canton, Sam, for what you did. And you have the art and the perception of punters that, there's the kickers and then there's the rest of the team. But, Sam, you go to a man with your teammates in Baltimore, be it Ed Reed's, Ray Lewis's, Coach Harbaugh. I mean, there was – now Sam's a dude, I guess is the best way to put it in glowing terms with how you were treated. You weren't treated like a kicker. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, everybody wants to be us during the week, but they never want to be us on Sundays. And so they're always thankful when when they're always thankful when it comes to Sunday and we do our job, because they're extremely happy. If we don't do our job, then obviously we're the butt of all jokes, But you always hear the old linemen coming up, as we're in the locker rooms, they're getting ready for practice. They're like, man, it must be nice. But they surely don't want to be us on Sundays. So we have a mutual feeling, a mutual respect between all of us here at the Ravens, and the way they approach us is like one of the guys. Mm-hmm. And you got to love everybody here for that. I mean, they understand how important we take our jobs, even though it may not be as physically demanding. It's equally mentally demanding. And so I think a lot of guys understand that and understand where we come from, and they enjoy our attitude about that.
Sam Koch's with us. Sam, it's rare in professional sports, or it can be rare, that things end on great terms, and that's what's happened with you in Baltimore. They gave you a heads up that they were going to go draft another punter. You're in it even post, career. Now, when it comes to consulting, you're ready to help the team because you're a giver. You're not selfish. You've never been selfish.
Correct.
What was the conversation like to step away? And did they have to talk you into it, or were you ready? I know you said Thursday you're at peace, but you can still ball, I guess is what I'm getting at.
Correct. Yeah, obviously make it clear. I feel like I can go out there and still punt, another 3-4 years. But however, this was a conversation that I had with Coach Harbaugh, all of our special teams coaches, Chris and Randy Brown, even Jerry Rosberg, along with Eric DaCosta, and had these conversations with my wife too. And so it was one of the things that we had discussed, do I want to, look at possibly playing somewhere else? And I just honestly couldn't see myself being with any other organization, nor spending that much time away from my family. And I think that was what led to the ultimate decision was, yes, can I go play? Yes. Would it be nice to make a little bit more money? Not, to me, it's not about the money. It's being able to be with my family and also have the opportunity to help out an organization that gave me so much. And then, help out the next guy in line, the next man up, as we say in the NFL, and give him the platform and the foundation to go out there and succeed, which is what coaching is all about. And I'm going to enjoy that. And I already, just this morning, we started working with Jordan. So I look forward to going out there on that practice field and helping him in every way that I can. And so with all that, I'm just very appreciative of where I'm at and how things are going and how they handled the whole situation. And so, yes, I'm completely at peace with my decision, and I just look forward to the next chapter of my life.
Sam Koch with us, Hail Varsity Radio. Sam, you said you got to see Coach Downing and Coach Bush. What was that moment like for you?
It was great seeing them. When I come back to Nebraska, usually once a year, I'll go down to the university and be able to see Bill Bush. But Coach Downing, hadn't seen him in a while, and it just brought back many memories of us being at Nebraska during college and enjoying those times. So we got to catch up a little bit, and it's just great to see those guys and have them be a part of such a special day.
Is there a moment in your career that's kind of burned into your memory? A big moment, a tense moment? You were a part of a lot of last-minute wins or moments when it comes to special teams. Defense, a little offense, and special teams, and that was the formula that has made Baltimore such a really good football team.
Correct. I mean, there's so many experiences and times on that field that I remember. I mean, obviously the Super Bowl is the most important. That's one that we'll always look back on, and being able to, as you're growing up, you're thinking, man, if only I could be, or actually, I always kind of role played when I was a kid, man. I'm in Super Bowl. I was always role played as a quarterback rather than a punter and a kicker, but it's all the same. And then having the opportunity to play on the biggest stage in front of 100 and some million fans or whatever, it's one of those feelings and times that you'll never forget. And to be able to hoist the Lombardi and to get that Super Bowl ring, it's just remarkable to be a part of. And there's other experiences and other times throughout my career with Ray Lewis retiring and being part of such great Ravens and great NFL players and iconic players, for that matter. And being able to share the field with them it was a lot of fun.
Sam, so I know you're into steaks, right? You got your own butcher thing set up in just kind of west of Lincoln. You also like working on trucks. And when we've talked in the past, you were painting your barroom stools. So there's you keep busy on top of what you're planning to do consulting. So what's on the next to-do list for you when it comes to hobbies?
Oh man, well, I guess what not. I'm always tinkering with something, and I guess that's the Nebraska in me. So right now, I just need to get my. I got a Chevy, 85 Chevy K20 that I'm working on with my son. I ended up taking a few steps back. Tore out all the electrical, tore the front axle out. So we gotta work on that, get that thing back up and running, and get it to a place where we can go drive it. So that'll probably be my next project I'm focusing solely on.
Well, you could also do the cooking and the grilling show. You've done a couple of cameos, I think, as well. So, man, you're going to be busy. And hey, Sam, best to you. Congratulations to your career, your success, and your new chapter as a consultant. And really happy for you, man. And thanks for all the time you've always given us. And we'll be in touch again.
Chris, I appreciate you having me. Always enjoy being on here with you. And yes, I look forward to speaking with you guys again.
Pardon the interruption, but I'd like to save you some money. I'm Brandon Vogel, managing editor of Hail Varsity, and I wanted to offer listeners of this podcast $10 off the price of an annual subscription. That means that you, for less than $20, can get everything we produce: 10 issues of our monthly magazine, our annual football yearbook, and all of the premium content we produce at hailvarsity.com. Just go to hailvarsity.com/subscribe and enter the promo code GBR for $10 off a full year of Hail Varsity. That's hailvarsity.com/subscribe, promo code GBR.
And now, back to Hail Varsity Radio.
Back into it. It's Hail Varsity Radio, presented by the Nebraska Lottery. And if they had enough rainfall in South Carolina, Kaz's pool would be filled up. Rick Kaczenski with us. Kaz, what do you know, man?
Not a whole lot, brother. Not much, man. How about yourself? How you guys doing up there?
We're good. Was the decision to put a pool in a hard decision or an easy decision?
Nah, I swore against it. Told my wife it'll never happen. And then, we have one in our community we live in. They have a clubhouse and a pool. And I said, what the hell we need one for? And I came home after a baseball tournament last year and said, all right, we're getting a pool. Sold one of the hot rods. And so that's funding. That's funding the pool. But it's a little bit different down here. You have it's not like up north where you have so many people doing it. You got several people, so the prices are a little bit more competitive, so it's like having more home builders. But they digging a hole, got some sod cut here this weekend, so got chewed up by some ants. But man, so we're getting ready, brother, getting ready. That way I don't have to leave and see anybody other than at baseball. So,
just
I'm not a fan of humans,
Let me ask you, dare I ask what hot rod you sold?
I saw that coming out. I'm getting something else. I bid on 2 at the auction the other day, but market's crazy. Just absolutely.
Another Camaro, or are you going vet again?
Nah. I bid on a 67 Plymouth GTX. I bid on a 66 GTO, and so missed out on one. I had a budget, and they did stupid money. So I passed, man. But yeah. They're easy to find. I'll find me another one down the line, but I'm glad it was kind of one of those. Woke up Sunday saying, "So glad I don't have a car on a trailer right now, about to be dropped off." So we'll get the pool done, and we'll go get us a hot rod again. But yeah.
Well, next time you're in Nebraska, we'll get you a ride in Uncle Andy's '68 Camaro.
There you go, man. There we go.
So,
all for it.
Team Jimbo or Team Saban? It's been a few days, but I'd love your take on Saban and Jimbo's reaction. It pretty much dominated the last couple of days last week.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. It's I think it's a good thing for college football. I mean, just it's just it's a sign of the times. It's what we're dealing with. But I do agree with a lot of what Coach Saban said. It's one thing when you have players that create the opportunities and they get taken care of. I think he said they had 25 guys at Alabama that had those opportunities that made a good amount of money. And if we're going to pay guys, which really that's what it's come down to, pay guys who perform. When we talked last week about what's going on in California, and I know Coach Saban touched upon those collectives, and I agree with that. I mean, to me, that one thing when a player creates the opportunities by his performance, and then there's another thing when you get a group of guys together, put a bunch of money in a pot, start paying guys to go to their university. So I agree with a lot of what he said. Now, I don't follow recruiting close enough to know, who got what. I know Alabama gets pretty much whoever the hell they want. Neither school is going to be hurting for good players anytime soon. But I think he's kind of. I think Coach Saban's just kind of in the boat as everybody else. Well, as long as it's here, we're going to take advantage of it. But also, you need to rein this thing in, or it's gonna just absolutely kill college sports, which it's already chipping away at it. But yeah, it was made for some good radio, that's for sure. Some good TV, and then but yeah, man, I just think these collectives and putting money in a pot and getting guys to come that way. I'm not a fan. I agree with Nick on that stuff.
Rick Kaczenski, a couple more minutes. Hail Varsity Radio. Kaz, a thought with Stephon Wynn. Nebraska able to get his verbal and win in the portal. He's the Alabama transfer. And did you ever look at IMG kids much? Because that's where he came from. He was a pretty highly ranked kid going into Alabama, and Alabama's cranked out about 12 defensive linemen since he entered in to the Bama program. I'm looking at it as playing time. Been in the program 4 years, has 2 years left, and body-wise, 6'4", 308, can get after the quarterback and also theoretically stop the run. Nice add for the Nebraska defensive line.
Theoretically. Can you go into theory? Because theory.
You have better. You lived the theory. I didn't, but I'm saying the guy was good enough to go to. A guy was good enough to go to Bama, my friend, and now you're getting him on the back end. So enlighten me.
I wasn't talking about him individually. I was just talking about your comment. Will be like Saban and Jimbo here, but he's obviously very sought after kid. But I never, I had never been anywhere where we had recruited IMG much. Usually places like that. One, most of those kids, a lot of those kids stay south. A lot of those kids are southeastern kids, and usually if there was a kid there you were recruited, you had some type of connection, some type of family connection, or some type of city connection. That's a tough nut to get into because you're battling Georgia, you're battling Clemson, you're battling Florida. The school's right there in Georgia, and that's really difficult to pull a kid out of IMG to unless you have some type of connection to him. Mm-hmm. But I do remember. I remember. This kid, and when he was in high school, Hannah, it's up in Anderson. It's a good program, historically good program. I think it's either a 4 or 5A school here in South Carolina, which is really, really good football. I mean, week in, week out, there's no easy games, and it comes from a great football town, and obviously no untalented guys, they don't end up at Alabama. Alabama doesn't make many mistakes. Usually what they end up doing is they end up finding somebody that's just a little bit better. So I think when if you're a Nebraska fan and you're looking at a guy like this, here's a guy that, played in the SEC. And I think even more importantly, he practiced at Alabama. He practiced and was coached by Coach Saban, and really we got a really good defensive line coach, Freddie Roach there. So this is a guy that knows how to practice. You're not going to last. Coach Saban, you're not going to last 4 years in a program unless you're doing something right. So I think that's a great testament to this kid that he lasted 4 years with Coach Saban. Because a lot of those guys, they might, you usually have to your third semester to get into too deep, or they're telling you, they're helping you transfer. Mm-hmm. So, that's a gauntlet. It's not easy coaching for him. It's not easy playing for him, rightfully so, because of the demands, because of the level of intensity and the expectations. So I think, there's a lot of things that he's going to bring that are going to help besides just being 6'4", 310 pounds and a defensive lineman. This is a kid that knows how to win. He knows what it takes to win. He's going to help those guys at Nebraska in that meeting room. The great players and the guys at Alabama and these great programs, there's no 20-hour rule for them. They might be in the building 20 hours, but they know it's going to take a hell of a lot more to be great. How to study film, what you're looking for, how to play together, how to communicate, how to read formations, how to anticipate what's coming. So I think you have an older guy, you have a mature guy, and you have a guy that's coming from a place where you win, and they know how to win. And I think he's a guy that he comes in with a lot of street cred, and he can hold guys accountable. 6'4", 310, that guy can hold me accountable. That's a bad dude. And I remember Norm Parker used to say, he's like, if your biggest guy is your toughest guy on defense, and he's your leader, you're going to have a pretty dang good defense. And so I think what you're getting there is invaluable. No matter how good of a player he's a big old body. And he's better than a high school kid coming out because he's got 4 more years of maturity, and a hell of a lot more about him than a junior college kid. So, I think you hit pay dirt with this one. So I think it's a great get for Nebraska. It's going to give you a chance on Saturdays with the offensive lineman you're going to have to play against and week in, week out.
Kaz, last question for your new ride. You got to pick one. You going Springsteen or Tom Petty?
Oh man, well, being an East Coaster, I guess you could call me. They call us North Coast, where I'm from in Pennsylvania, up on the lake. But more of an East Coaster. You grew up with Springsteen, kind of living life through his songs metaphorically, steel mill closing, kids fighting with their dads. And, I think he had he had an old Corvette and, songs about cars, songs about bad relationships, all that stuff. So it kind of represented that part of the country. But definitely as I got older and started listening to, I hate to say it, I try not to mix politics with that type of stuff, but God, he went so far the other direction. He was hard to stomach even listening to. But so yeah, Petty or Springsteen. Petty, hands down right now. Not necessarily musically, but I can't separate the politics from that guy. Yeah, I understand. I'm all for it. People believe what you believe. That hey, have conviction. But this dude, he's gone fruity on us, man. So Petty, all the way.
Going to Petty. Rick Kaczenski with us. Kaz, good to chat, man. Thanks for a few minutes.
You got it, buddy. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Hello, listener. Hey, it's Chris Schmidt with Hail Varsity Radio, and I wanted to let you know about a special deal just for listeners of the Hail Varsity Radio Show podcast. We're offering $10 off the annual subscription price of $29.99. That means that you, for less than $20, can get everything we do. 10 issues of our monthly magazine, our annual football yearbook, and all the premium content we produce at HailVarsity.com. Just go to HailVarsity.com/subscribe and enter in the promo code GBR for $10 off a full year of Hail Varsity. That's HailVarsity.com/subscribe, promo code GBR.
And now, back to Hail Varsity Radio.
All right, midway point for Season 6, Better Call Saul, an incredible cliffhanger. We won't stomp on your heart. We bring in Better Call Saul Mike St. James, Better Call Saul aficionado. And Mike, all I can say is, wow.
That was crazy. I did not see that coming.
Elijah's not been caught up on Season 6 yet, so we won't.
But I know what you guys are saying here, because this is what they did back with Breaking Bad. It's what they did in the early seasons of Better Call Saul, where they lull you to sleep with an episode boring, and then everything goes off the rails in one episode. They've been doing it for years. They're so good at it.
They are. So, Mike, let's get a thought here, bud, on Saul and Kim, the Lalo return, and, of course, the Sandpiper, it felt like sandpaper to Howard, but the Sandpiper case where the ultimate prank, we can probably go there, the ultimate prank pulled off by Saul and Kim there on old Howard being a coke fiend.
Before we get into that, first, how brilliant was the title of this episode? Plan and Execution.
Oh, big time. It's the mantra of every football coach, brother.
And yeah, their plan went well. They did that. They knocked that one out of the park, and it took some running by Saul too. Everything was timed perfectly. Everything just ran to perfection, and they nailed Howard. God, you felt sorry for him.
Yeah, you did. And then how about Lalo? Salamanca gets back from his European tour and posts up down in the sewer across from Gus's laundry.
Yeah, he looked like Pennywise the Clown there for a minute. I thought he was going to be holding up a red balloon.
Not anymore, not in Lincoln.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
But
were you looking at the license plate of the Subaru? Like, when he was getting into that car, I'm like, wait a minute, is this Germany or is this America? And you're waiting to see, is this a European license plate? That's what I was doing. And then, oh my God, he's in America. This is going to be nuts. Things are going to happen.
They did happen. We will not spoil it for you, but July 8th looms, or July 11th looms, one of the two, for the resumption, the second part of Better Call Saul Season 6.
I promise I'll be caught up by then.
Okay, fine. So good. So you had the midseason finish last night. So what's next? So clearly Mike and his security force, Trout, are all over Gus, and Gus is freaking out. And Gus had the old folks home. He had the phones tapped in precaution. I mean, this is very, very detailed.
And Lalo figured that out.
Which is crazy.
Yeah.
Did you figure it out watching it?
No, I didn't. But he was waiting, and you could see that look on his face like something is wrong here. And then I was starting to think, okay, but yeah, just a couple of clicks on the line, and he knows that there's something wrong there.
Mike St. James with us on Hail Varsity Radio, recapping Better Call Saul, the mid-season finale before part 2 of season 6 resumes. So, what's next, in your opinion? Let's play a little predictor game. You had Lalo meet with his attorneys at the end of this episode that really freaked out Saul and Kim.
Yeah. Yeah, the looks on their faces. Wow. And how cool was the candle flickering?
Twice, yes.
Yeah. Yeah, when it flickered the first time, and then you see somebody come in, and then it flickers the second time, and then, who's this?
Well,
that was fantastic.
Listen, we know, we don't know, but we presume that Lalo's going to get popped between the beginning episode and the final episode, because Gus and Mike are carefree about Lalo. Only Saul doesn't know, and there's no Kim, so we got to do some math as to what happens. Does she flee and go to the vacuum shop at some point next season?
I'm hoping. Yeah, and the math that we have to do is it's Better Call Saul minus Kim and Lalo equals Breaking Bad. So how do you subtract Kim and Lalo? Where Lalo, you got to think things aren't going to end good for him. Kim, it's just you're just hoping things end okay, hoping that she lives through this.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. But I don't think he'd go on, Saul Goodman, Jimmy McGill, I don't think he could go on functioning if she died.
Yeah, I agree with that. As good as Saul is on putting a happy face on things, I don't think he could make it through that.
No.
So.
And
hey, did you try Chuck's can trick that Howard was doing?
I haven't, and apparently if you shake up or drop a soda can, if you spin it a few times, it prevents it from blowing up in your face. Is that true?
Yeah.
Did you try it?
I've got a can of cherry Coke unopened right here. Would you like me to try it?
Shake it up to the phone.
Okay. Can you hear it?
That's well shaken, yeah.
And that's a Miller Lite can. No one's buying. Okay. So now hold the phone up to the open. Spin it around.
Let me spin it.
This could be a disaster.
Mike St. James, Better Call Saul aficionado.
My wife is going to kill me if this goes up. I've got some paper towels, but that's it.
For good measure, flick the top a couple of times, too. That's what I always try. It never worked, but I'd always try it.
Mike, how many times have we spun it?
About 6, and I'm ready to open. Are you ready?
Yeah. Hold your phone up.
It worked.
That sounded okay.
That sounded good.
Man. Leave it to crazy, what's his bucket?
Chuck.
It's Crazy Chuck making it happen. So are we going to actually get together, order a pizza, drink some beers, and watch the finale? My dear friend Brandon Vogel from Hale Varsity brought over a 6-pack for the Breaking Bad finale back in 2014. I was with my dear friend Mike Riley, not that one, for the Sopranos finale, because I'd always mooch Sopranos off of him. He had HBO. I'd bring the beer. That was my rent. And we'd have a steak every Sunday night and to watch the Sopranos. And so you're in town. Don't take this the wrong way. You're it. so we got to watch. We got to watch the Better Call Saul finale.
And when will that happen? Sometime in August, maybe?
I think so. Yeah, 6 weeks in August. Okay. You got July through August.
All right.
Deal?
Yeah, definitely. I'll be up for that.
All right, Mike St. James, Better Call Saul aficionado. Our old buddy Timo, a big and dear friend of Bob Odenkirk, checking this out. So, St. James, thanks for the time, brother. Great to chat with you.
Oh, same here. Have a great night.
Like what you hear? High-quality radio and podcasts are just part of what we do at Hale Varsity. I'm Brandon Vogel, managing editor. And I wanted to offer listeners of the Hale Varsity Radio Show podcast $10 off the price of an annual subscription. That means that you, for less than $20, can get everything we do. 10 issues of our monthly magazine, our annual football yearbook, and all of the premium content we produce at HaleVarsity.com. Just go to HaleVarsity.com/subscribe and enter the promo code GBR for $10 off a full year of Hale Varsity. That's hailvarsity.com/subscribe, promo code GBR.
Miss us?
Come here, brother. Give me a hug. Bring it in for the real thing.
We're on call for you. Catch the podcast at hailvarsity.com, the ESPN Lincoln app, or download them on iTunes.
Saddle up, partner.
Back to Hail Varsity Radio.
One final time. You know what? Better Call Saul's the Princeton offense of TV shows. Effective, incredible with the right personnel, and lulls you to sleep until they kill you on a game winner with the perfect play. And that was an incredible ending with another cliffhanger. Dan tweets in, at some point, Better Call Saul has to jump past Breaking Bad. When Saul gets spotted in Omaha, he asks the vacuum guy to take him out and says, forget about it, I'll do it myself. I think he goes out in a blaze of glory. That goes back to season 5, where he got made. I think at the season finale there, somebody recognized him at Oakview, who drove a cab, and Saul's got a bunch of diamonds, or Gene, the Cinnabon manager. Yeah, next season, or the next half season, you've got to figure out with Kim and Lalo. And you got to also figure out when they mesh with Walton and Jesse. And then you got to get either Saul smuggled out of Omaha or taken down by the police. So that's kind of where we're at.
Now tell me, before we get to the beef up your backyard chance to qualify, you got to talk me through this soda trick here.
Okay,
shake it up. So,
what happened with the episode is you had a new young member of Howard's legal practice, like a gopher or an intern. He had a bunch of soda, okay, and he had it, and he was putting it in the fridge, right? The conference room fridge. Well, one of the top part of the 12-pack was open, so he leans down.
Oh, and it all spills out.
And it all spills out. So the soda's shaking, and the young guy was going to just put him in the fridge anyway. And the head of the law firm says, no, we don't want to surprise our clients that way. So he's like, here's the trick. And you spin it around. He explains it. So right now, I'm spinning my coffee cup in my palm, counterclockwise or clockwise. Doesn't matter. But if you do that to your soda, it somehow, some way
settles
it, right? And the term that was used is escaping me, but it's got to do something with probably static electricity or something like that. Huh. Your touch in the can.
Never knew.
Yeah, me neither. I mean, there's, how many times I got blasted, opening a soda for Junior that he fumbled. Mm-hmm. Intentionally, I would put money on.
Well, if you learn nothing else from the Hail Varsity Radio Show today, you learn that.
Well, no, and Mike St. James did it perfectly. Mm-hmm. It wasn't just urban legend. Let's get you qualified here. We are winding down, and we'll do that drawing here. Your last day to qualify is Thursday. Get in now. Caller 9 qualifies. Capitol Patio and the Flame Shop. A gift card to Russ's Market for all that meat you want to put on your smoker. Good luck. God bless. Caller 9 qualifies right now. 466-3776 800-825-5865. Caller 9 qualifies now.
A Hurrdat Media Production.